The night I graduated, I expected applause, not a sentence that shattered every bone inside my chest. My mother looked at me with eyes colder than the silverware on the table and whispered, "We wish you were never born." Everyone froze. Even the candles flickered like they gasped. What she didn't know was that I had already prepared something big, something that would flip the entire family upside down. And that night, I did something none of them were ready for. My name is Evan Whitlock, and for 19 years I believed that being quiet, hardworking, and invisible would keep the peace in my home. But peace was never meant for me. Not in a house where my mother, Marissa, treated me like a piece of old furniture she regretted buying. Not in a house where my father, Alan, pretended everything was fine as long as he didn't have to deal with conflict. Not in a house where my younger brother, Caleb, was the golden child, the miracle son, the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. And me? I was the extra, the accident, the unwanted one. At least that's what they made me feel. But life has a strange way of turning the forgotten into the unforgettable. And my moment came on the night of my graduation. We were seated at Montclair Grill, the most expensive restaurant in our town. Not for me, of course. My parents wanted to celebrate. Caleb's promotion at his internship, not my graduation. I was only included because my aunt insisted on it. But I didn't complain. I rarely did. The waitress had just left our table, and everyone was talking about Caleb's future. How he was going to be the pride of the Whitlock family. How he would bring honor to our name. How he was everything a parent could hope for. And then, my Aunt Eleanor smiled and said, "Evan, you must feel so proud today. Graduating with honors is no small feat." Before I could even thank her, my mother laughed. Not a soft laugh. A sharp one. The kind that slices the air. "Oh, please," she said, waving her hand. "Let's not pretend this is some big accomplishment. We didn't think he'd even finish school." The table went silent. My cheeks burned. But I stayed quiet. I always stayed quiet, until my mother leaned back, sipped her wine, and added, "Honestly, we wish he was never born. Life would have been much easier." Her words didn't break me. They burned me. And flames, when pushed long enough, become something else. Something dangerous. Something unstoppable. My aunt gasped. Caleb looked away. My father didn't even lift his eyes from his phone. And me? I smiled. For the first time in years. I smiled, because I knew something they didn't. Something that would flip their perfect little world upside down. Something that would make them regret every word. Every insult, every bruise, every silent punishment they ever gave me. I picked up my glass of water, stood up slowly, and said, "Well, that makes this next part easier." My mother frowned. "What next part?" I took a breath, a long, calm, devastating breath. Then I placed an envelope on the table, a thick one, with legal seals. My father finally looked up. "What is this?" I said nothing. Not yet. I let them stare. Let them wonder. Let them feel the anxiety rise like a storm cloud above their heads. Then I sat back down, looked straight into my mother's eyes, and spoke. "It's the paperwork finalizing my emancipation." My mother blinked. "What?" "I'm legally not your responsibility anymore," I said. "In fact, starting tonight, I won't be living with you." My father scoffed. "And where do you plan to go? A shelter?" I smirked. "No, I'm going home." My mother laughed again, louder, harsher. "Home? You mean our home? That's not happening." I leaned forward. "That house isn't yours." "What nonsense are you talking about?" She snapped. I took out the second envelope. My aunt covered her mouth. She knew. She had helped. Inside the second envelope was the deed to the house my parents lived in, signed, stamped, owned by me. The house my grandmother left behind. The house my parents had been living in for free. The house they assumed would pass to Caleb someday. I slid the deed across the table. "It's my house," I said slowly, "and I'm asking you to vacate it within 30 days. My mother's wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered. My father's jaw dropped. Caleb stared like he had seen a ghost. And I remained calm. Years of silence had trained me well. My mother finally stood up, her voice trembling with anger. "You think you can just throw us out?" I didn't blink. "Yes." My father slammed his fist on the table. "You ungrateful brat." I leaned back, folded my hands, and said, "You should thank me, actually. I'm giving you a whole month." I could have asked for 7 days. My mother shook her head wildly. "This is a joke. A stupid, childish joke." But deep down, she knew. She knew the moment she saw the legal stamp. She knew the moment she saw the signature from my grandmother's lawyer. She knew this wasn't a joke. This was karma. This was consequences. This was liberation. And it was long overdue. The rest of the restaurant stared, but I didn't care. For the first time in my life, their opinions didn't matter. Only one thing mattered. I was finally in control. My mother sat back down, breathing heavily. "You won't survive without us," she hissed. I looked at her with the calmest smile I'd ever had. "I already have." Then I stood, pushed my chair in, placed the pen on the table, and said, "Enjoy your meal. It's the last dinner you'll ever have as the owners of that house." Then I walked out. Not a single member of my family followed. But my aunt, she walked beside me, and for the first time in years, someone hugged me. A real hug, a warm one, a proud one. "You did the right thing, Evan," she whispered. "I didn't do it for revenge," I said softly. "I did it for freedom," she nodded. "That's the best kind." And that night, for the first time since I was born, I slept in a home that was truly mine, a home without insults, a home without fear, a home without the people who said they wished I was never born. Funny thing is, if they hadn't said that, I might never have found the strength to walk away. But now I'm stronger than their words, stronger than their cruelty, stronger than the past they tried to trap me in. My story didn't end with their sentence. It began with it. The morning after graduation dinner felt strangely quiet. Not the fearful kind of quiet I grew up with, not the silence before an argument quiet, not the walking on eggshells quiet. It was peaceful, warm, mine. I woke up in my grandmother's old room, now redesigned, repainted, revived, and the sunlight spilled over me like I finally existed. I sat up slowly, letting the reality sink in. For the first time in 19 years, no one could barge into my room. No one could shout my name like a warning siren. No one could call me useless or unwanted. This house wasn't just a house anymore. It was freedom with walls and windows. It was healing made of bricks. It was a promise I intended to keep. I walked downstairs and found Aunt Eleanor already in the kitchen preparing breakfast. She smiled, a real warm human smile. "Good morning, Evan," she said. I almost forgot what it felt like to be greeted kindly. "Morning," I whispered back. She placed a plate in front of me. "You didn't eat last night. I figured you'd be starving." I was, but not just for food, for life, for peace, for the things I was denied for years. I ate quietly while she made tea. Then she sat down across from me and said, "You know they'll show up. They won't accept this easily." I nodded. "I know. What will you do?" I took a slow breath. "Whatever I have to." She didn't question me further. She trusted me, something no adult in my family had ever done. Later that afternoon, the doorbell rang. I didn't even flinch. I already knew who it was. I opened the door slowly, and there they stood, my mother, her makeup smudged, her hair messy, anger burning in her eyes. My father, stiff, red-faced, jaw clenched so hard it looked painful. Caleb, standing behind them, awkward, confused, avoiding my gaze. My mother didn't wait for permission. She stormed past me into the house. "This is ridiculous," she snapped. "This house is mine." I locked the door behind them, calmly, quietly, dangerously. "Actually," I said, "it isn't." My father stepped forward. "You're a child. You don't understand the consequences of what you're doing." I smiled. "I understand perfectly." My mother slammed the deed onto the table. "This paper doesn't mean anything. Your grandmother didn't—" "Evan, maybe we can talk about this? I mean, we're family." Family, a word they only used when they wanted something. I turned toward him. "Did you ever stand up for me?" I asked. His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. But no sound came out. "Exactly." My mother crossed her arms. "You think you're punishing us? You think this makes you powerful?" I shook my head slowly. "That's where you're wrong. This isn't punishment. This isn't revenge. This is protection." Her eyes narrowed. "Protection? From what?" I looked right at her. "From you." Her face twitched, just enough to reveal she wasn't expecting that. I continued. "I spent my whole life trying to earn a kindness you never had. Trying to become a son you could appreciate. Trying to be small enough, quiet enough, obedient enough to make you love me." I stepped closer. But none of it mattered. Not my grades. Not my achievements. Not my existence. I paused. "And last night?" "You confirmed it." My mother's lip trembled. That was new. She never broke. She never cracked. She was always cold metal. But now the truth was a mirror she didn't want to see herself in. My father finally spoke. "You're being dramatic." She didn't mean it. I shook my head. She meant every word. And so do I. Silence filled the room, thick, heavy, undeniable. Then I pointed to the door. "You have 30 days. That's generous. Please don't make me reconsider." My mother's voice broke. "You can't do this. We have nowhere to go." The lie was obvious. They had savings. They had options. They had people. But even if they didn't, it wasn't my burden anymore. For 19 years I lived carrying their cruelty on my back. Now they could carry their consequences. I opened the door for them. Caleb walked out first. He didn't look back. My father hesitated. My mother tried one last time. "Evan, we're your parents." I nodded. "And I'm your son. But you never cared about that." She swallowed hard. A single tear slipped down her face, the first I had ever seen. Then she walked out too. I closed the door, clicked the lock, and leaned against it. My heart was beating fast, but not in fear, in relief, in victory, in freedom. For days the house remained peaceful. I cleaned rooms they had neglected. I opened windows that had been shut for years. I painted walls that once echoed with shouting. Every brushstroke felt like reclaiming a piece of my childhood. Every open window felt like letting out a trapped ghost. Every corner of the house transformed from a battlefield into a sanctuary. A week later, I received a letter. Not from my family. From my grandmother's attorney. Inside, it was a note she wrote before she died. A note meant only for me. My hands trembled as I opened it. The handwriting was delicate. "I know life has not been gentle with you. I know you have carried burdens no child should carry. This house is not just a home for you. It is my apology for not being able to protect you sooner. You are stronger than the cruelty you endured. You are brighter than the shadows you were raised in. And one day you will realize that your worth was never measured by the people who failed to see it. Live freely, Evan. Live bravely. Live beautifully. With all my love, Grandma." My tears hit the page. I hadn't cried in years. Not because I didn't want to, because no one ever gave me permission to feel. Now, I didn't need permission. I let myself cry. Cry for the boy who wanted to be loved. Cry for the teenager who suffered in silence. Cry for the young man learning how to breathe again. And when the tears stopped, I smiled. Because I knew her words would stay in this house forever. And so would I. 30 days passed. My parents moved out. Quietly. Without another fight. Without another insult. Without another attempt to manipulate me. Maybe they finally understood. Maybe they finally accepted it. Maybe they finally realized that the son they tried to erase was the one person they could never control again. A few months later, I started university. A new start. A new life. A new identity built on strength, not fear. Aunt Eleanor remained by my side. She visited often. She made the house feel alive. We rebuilt a family, a real one, piece by piece. And sometimes, when I walked through the hallway, I heard my grandmother's voice in my mind, "Live freely, Evan." And I did. Every day, every choice, every breath. I lived freely, because the night my mother said she wished I was never born was the same night I finally began to live.